So here's a myth that has probably hit you already and you don't even know it. And the myth is you need to develop skills before you can create. Okay, so if that was the case, nobody would ever do anything because you'd be developing skills before you create. Well, how can you develop skills before you create? You develop skills as you create. As you do, then that's when it happens. That's when you find the need for technique, for skills. Blank pieces of paper are places where we become creative. Get an idea. Use your head. Get your idea, select it, choose what you're going to do in order to get the idea to the next stage. It's not what we're doing here, it's what's happening as we do it. And I'm sketching what's part of me. That's the trick to get through the myth. So if you want to get through the myth, you need a trick. And the trick for me is to associate with what I love and paint it. This is how you break that myth of, I've got nothing to do. I don't know what to draw. I don't have anything to paint. You do. You need to get out and get an association with something. Be involved with something. And then begin. Okay, I'm getting a little scared here. What does that mean? Well, I'm sitting here painting in front of you and a little thing saying, well, what if you make a mistake? I mean, isn't that silly? But I'm confident that I've done this long enough that I will move in the right direction. So there was the myth there, is that if you make a mistake, you have to start over. It's not true. There are no mistakes. They're just things that redirect you. So this whole picture here, which is not quite done, but it's nearing completion, is using the techniques that I'm teaching you with this simple project. Everything we do in this project with the little round shape is exactly what I do here. All the technique you will need to actually get to this level is encompassed in our exercise, or what you might call our group project, that the technique and the skills you need will be honed and learned in this little project, which will enable you, if you practice them, to go to the next level in any genre you want, whether it's landscape, portrait, cityscapes, still lifes, or non-objective art. Okay, let's address the myth that went on during this painting from start to finish. The myth is probably a belief that the painting has to look really good every stage of the way. And I am going to convince you by the end of this class that that just is not true. Paintings are like baking a cake. I mean, everything's on the counter and there's nothing together, and you mix it together and then it turns all to one thing, and you put it in a pan, put some magic baking powder in and put it in the oven and leave it alone, and out it comes fantastic. You followed some rules, you know it's going to turn out. I know this painting's going to turn out. Why? Because creativity is about making things happen, not stopping and starting over. So, we're sharing some skills here because these myths are easy to explode if you have the tools to do it. Looking at a picture now, I see that I've learned so much from this. Putting your picture into a frame means let's take a really good look at what we did. And you'll see it's definitely ups your game. You are able to appreciate what you've done from a distance, and you're not so close to it and connected with it anymore. It has a life of its own, and you are just there taking part in it. Of course, without you, it wouldn't be there, but nevertheless, it belongs to everybody now, and you have to lose that sort of idea that it's yours. Well, there you go. Changing your artistic mindset. Okay, here's the fallen birch. And this started out as a pen and ink. Then I went to watercolor wash, and then gouache, and then acrylic. So I'm going to add a glaze on this one also. Here's how much water I have. I'm going to take a little bit of the medium, put it here, mix them together. One is very watery, just in case the medium gets a little thick. Now I'm going to put that on, and I'm going to start in the middle and do a little stroke. See, it's very soft. Let's see if that gouache is melting and running. No, it isn't. So I didn't put the gouache on too thickly, or the opaque watercolor. Never use it really thickly. Only use it as thick as it needs to color or cover what you're doing. Okay, so see, it hasn't run, and it's really shiny here. I'll take the mat off now, and you'll see what it looks like when I do the whole picture. Okay, so I dip it in again, and I can see where I've done it. So I just tilt the paper a little bit on an angle, and I can see where it's shiny and where it is not. Now, the beautiful thing about these acrylics is they're not as fussy as oil varnishes. You can go in different directions, but I like to go just vertical strokes first and tilt it so I can see where I've missed very gently. I don't want to disturb the paint layer. The first coat is the most important, and if your paints run, it's because you've used them too thickly. And you can get around that just by cleaning them up a bit. So here we go, putting the final coat on. Well, no, putting the first coat on. I usually put 2 coats on and let them dry at least overnight, because we want them bone dry when we put the second coat on. Now I know over here I didn't use much, so I can swipe it a little faster. There we go. I'm looking very carefully at it on an angle to see where the dull areas are where I've missed. Okay, now I'll take the last swipe one direction across. I'm not pressing on the brush. I'm just holding the brush and pulling it with my whole arm. Get rid of that myth that a picture is finished because it's no good. It's finished because we're finished with it. It's not that the painting's finished, we're finished with the painting.